Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, May 12th, 2025 meeting of the Financial Assistance Program Committee. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 1:04 p.m. The second item on today's agenda is the election of the chair and the vice chair. I will be facilitating the process on behalf of the committee. The process for the election shall be as follows. I will start with the position of chair. I will call 3 times for nominations. Each nomination shall require a seconder. The nominee is allowed to nominate him or herself, however, a seconder is still required. Once I have called 3 times for the position of chair, I will close nominations and verify that the nominees wish to let their name stand. If there is only one nominee, that person shall be acclaimed. If more than one nominee, a secret ballot vote shall commence. I will then repeat the process for the position of vice chair. My apologies. And when the election is complete, I will hand the reins over to the newly elected or appointed chair. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Seeing none, the floor is now open for nominations for chair. Are there any nominations for chair?
I would nominate Deputy Mayor Nielsen for chair.
Thank you, Member Allwood. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Seconded by Colleen Boer.
Thank you, Member Boer. I'll call a second time for nominations for position of chair. And I'll call a third and final time for nominations for position of chair. Seeing no further nominations, Member Nielsen, do you wish to let your name stand?
Sure will. Thank you very much to the nominator and seconder. With all 3 of us here, it's a tough decision.
Thank you, Member Nielsen. At this time, you have been acclaimed to the position of chair. Moving on now to the position of vice chair. The floor is now open for nominations. Member Boer?
I nominate Councillor Allwood for vice chair, please.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I will second that.
Thank you, Member Nielsen. I'll call a second time for nominations for position of vice chair, and I'll call a third and final time. Seeing no further nominations, Member Allwood, do you wish to let your name stand for the position of vice chair?
Thank you, Chair Thompson. I do accept the nomination. Thank you to the nominator and the seconder.
Thank you. At this time, Member Allwood, you have been acclaimed to the position of vice chair, and that concludes the election. I will pass the chair over to Chair Nielsen.
Thank you very much, Deputy Clerk Thompson. Moving along in our agenda to item 3 is declaration of pecuniary interest. If you do have one, declare now. If one does arise during discussions, we need to make sure we declare. Not seeing any off the top. Moving on to section 4 of our agenda, approval of the agenda. 4.1 recommendation that the Financial Assistance Program Committee approve the agenda as circulated. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Member Allwood, seconded by Member Boer. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to item number 5 of our agenda, approval of the minutes. That the Financial Assistance Program Committee approves the minutes from the 2024-07-24 as circulated. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Member Boer, seconded by Member Allwood. Any questions or comments on the minutes from the last time? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Item 6.1, items for discussion. 6.1, terms of reference for the Financial Assistance Program Committee. That the Financial Assistance Program Committee receive the FAP terms of reference for information, and there has been changes and updated from the council. So can I get a mover and a seconder to put on the floor? Moved by Member Allwood, seconded by Member Boer. Any questions or comments regarding the terms of reference? Not seeing any. I'm just wondering if the fact that we're only meeting once a year, maybe twice a year? Do we need to call for a chair every year? That might be something we want to talk about later on. Right now we have to. Seeing no other questions or comments, all those in favor? That is carried. Moving along to 6.2, changes to the community grant program for 2025. This includes the updated community grant program guidelines. And the motion that is recommended is that the Financial Assistance Program Committee receive the updated community grant program guidelines and criteria for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put it on the floor? Moved by member Bohr, seconded by member Allwood. Any questions or comments regarding the updates to this program? I think one of the big ones to highlight is that council did limit the amount of free rentals value to committees. But seeing no other questions, I will call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 6.3 is the list of 2025 Community Grant Program applications. That the Financial Assistance Program Committee received the list of 2025 Community Grant Program applications for information. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Allwood, seconded by member Bohr. Any questions or comments regarding the list in the spreadsheet format? They are listed one at a time that we'll be actually approving or denying later on today. Seeing no questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 6.4, updated schedule of rates and fees. That the Financial Assistance Program Committee received the schedule for rates and fees for information. This is just our fees and charges bylaw. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Allwood, seconded by member Bohr. Any questions or comments on the fees and charges bylaw? This is just the rates for our hall rentals and such. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 6.5, Community Grant Program cash commitments and requests. The total 2025 budget is $111,500, and the remaining cash budget for 2025 is $19,445. Now, there's no motion here. This is just information. So, Coordinator Thompson, there's no need to receive for information. Sorry, Acting Deputy Clerk Thompson, my apologies.
Thank you, Chair Nielsen. That's at the discretion of the chair. It may have been simply an oversight on my part, not putting a recommendation to receive for information. If the committee would like to do that, then we can go ahead.
Sure. We'll do that just for minutes purposes. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive item 6.5 for information? Moved by member Bohr, seconded by Chair Nielsen. I can second things, I just can't move them. Any questions or comments on this? This is just a very brief layout of the amount of funds that are available for this subcommittee to consider. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. And for the fun part, item number 7 on our agenda today, that the Financial Assistance Program Committee recommend that council proceed with the following requests that fall within the Community Grant Program scope for 2025. So 7.1 is our first question. Center Gray Health Services Foundation. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Just when you move, if you can say whether you move to approve or move to deny.
Chair Nielsen, I move to approve 7.1.
Okay, member Allwood will move to approve. Item 7.1 to approve a request from the Center Gray Health Services Foundation for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Center Gray Recreation Complex for the Greyhounds Grand Fondo cycling event and an approximate value of $1,500. Do I have a seconder? Member Bohr. Any questions or comments regarding this request? Member Bohr?
Am I correct in understanding from 6.5, we have about $19,445 to spend? Does this $1,500 come off as a declining balance from this?
That's a fair question. Coordinator Del Duca.
Through the chair to member Bohr. No, it doesn't. Venue rentals are not included in that. That is for cash requests and municipal expenditures.
Thank you for the
Right.
clarification. Thank you.
And then just the changes to the grant program is that no community group can request more than $3,000. Correct, Coordinator Del Duca?
To the chair, you're correct. $3,000 max before tax.
Okay, thank you for that. So it has been moved and seconded. Any further questions on 7.1? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? The first one is carried. 7.2. Looking for somebody to move to approve or deny a request from the Center Grey Lions Club for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center for 20 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $1,400, 70 business meeting rentals at 20 meetings. $70 per business meeting rental times 20 meetings. Remember,
I get a question answered, Chair Nielsen. So
Sure.
the $3,000 limit for free rentals, is that cumulative? So we would be looking at, in the case of this, both of these being less than $3,000 in some of our later. Okay. Thanks for that clarity. I'll move the first one to approve.
Okay. Member L looking to approve the request for the 20 business meeting rentals. And just for anybody who may be listening to this one and can't see the visuals, Coordinator Del Duca did say, yes, it is cumulative. So we're looking to have any one community group have less than $3,000 in community venue rental fees waived. Look at me trying to make things clearer for somebody listening and tripping over my tongue. I'm looking for a seconder for this one, 7.2, number 1. Seconded by Member Boer. Any questions or for clarity? Seeing none, I'll call the question on 7.2, number 1. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.2, number 2 is approve or deny a request from the Center Grey Lions Club for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center, Large Hall and Kitchen for 2 trivia fundraiser events at an approximate value of $760. Looking for somebody to move to approve or deny. Member Boer. You're on mute, Member Boer, sorry.
And of course, it never unmutes when you want. I move to approve.
Move to approve. 7.2, number 2. Can I get a seconder for that one?
I'll second that.
Okay, Member Allwood. It should just be noted, because we are a little late in the year getting this done, one of these rentals fees has already happened. So it's good that we're getting to this now.
Yes.
Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 7.3, Feversham Agricultural Society. They have a couple of different requests. Staff note for request number 3, this request may be considered an operational expenditure. As such, it would not be eligible for funding under the community grant program. But item number 1 is approve or deny a request from the Feversham Agricultural Society for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center, Large Hall and Kitchen for 1 volunteer appreciation event at an approximate value of $385. Looking for someone to approve or deny that. Member Allwood?
I'll approve number 1, the request for the $385 rental.
Okay. For fun, I will second that one. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.3, number 2, approve or deny a request from the Feversham Agricultural Society for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center small meeting room for 10 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $700. Looking for someone to move, to approve or deny. Member Boer.
I move to approve.
Looking for a seconder.
I'll second that, Chair Nielsen.
Seconded by Member Allwood. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Item number 3, approve or deny request from the Feversham Agricultural Society for a $2,500 cash contribution for the purchase of new chairs for the Osprey Community Center. So this is the one that staff do have a note that this could be considered an operational expense. So we're looking for someone to move, to approve, or deny. Member Allwood.
Thank you, Chair Nielsen. I'll move to deny this request. It's not eligible under the grant program.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Member Boer. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none from our members. Committee Coordinator Del Duca, just maybe a comment for clarity or a question for clarity. This would be considered if they were to do a fundraiser and wish to purchase and donate chairs themselves, that's one thing, but they're kind of requesting that Grey Highlands spend money on chairs, and Grey Highlands didn't really put that in the budget, and that's kind of where this is more of an operational consideration, correct?
We could put that in the budget. Yeah.
So this is something that
Or
maybe
request that through the budget, through you, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments on 7.3, number 3? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried to deny the request. 7.4, Feversham Agricultural Society Junior Fair Board. Staff note that request number 1, see request included with Feversham Agricultural Society application number 1. Application society, sorry. So 7.4, number 1. Coordinator Del Duca, did you want to comment on that first?
Through you, Chair, I was just going to pop in to give clarification. The Junior Fair Board request was lumped in with the Ag Society application, just in case you're wondering where it is. It was
okay.
It was included in the Ag Society's application.
Right. They didn't just make the Junior Fair Board send in their own request.
Correct.
That's why there's not a request sitting here with this group. Gotcha.
That's right.
I
Thank you.
follow the note now. All right. So we're looking for a motion to approve or deny a request from the Feversham Agricultural Society Junior Fair Board for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center for 9 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $630. Can I get a mover, a seconder to approve or deny? Member Boer.
Move to approve, please.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Allwood. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.5, Feversham Kinsman. Staff note regarding this item, the total value of venue rental request is approximately $3,325, which is $325 over the $3,000 cap. So 7.5, number 1, is approve or deny a request from the Feversham Kinsman for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center large hall and kitchen for 2 full days of Christmas celebrations at an approximate value of $1,190. Looking for a motion to approve or deny. Member Boer.
Move to approve, please.
Okay. Item number 1, motion to approve. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Allwood will second that one. Any questions or comments regarding this rental? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Item number 2 from the Feversham Kinsman, approve or deny a request from the Feversham Kinsman for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center large hall and kitchen for a heritage dinner event at an approximate value of $350. Someone would like to motion to approve or deny. Member Allwood.
Move to approve number 2.
Okay, motion to approve. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Boer will second. Any questions or comments regarding this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 3, motion to approve or deny a request from the Feversham Kinsman for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center for 20 business meeting rentals. Member Allwood, I saw your hand up.
Sorry, I would make an alternate motion that we approve up to $1,000 for for this item. Given the fact that the total would be over, so I think this might be an area to make the adjustment.
Okay. So member Elwood, you're looking to motion to approve $1,000 worth of rental. Just give me 1 second because we have to do some quick math. How many rent meetings is that? Member or Coordinator Del Duca.
Thank you, Chair. That'd be about 14 meetings.
So if we made it even 15 meetings, that would still be under the budget? If I do.
But they have one more request.
Yes. So this is
Yes,
just the
Chair,
difference.
that would keep them under the budget. Yeah, or under
Okay.
the limit.
So member Allwood, because the $1,000 kind of goes to a point, are you okay amending your motion to 15 meetings rather than 20?
Thank you, Chair Nielsen. Yes, I'd be happy to amend the motion to state that we approve 15 meetings at $70 per meeting, and I'll let somebody else do the math.
Okay, so member Allwood has motion to move to approve a request from the Feversham Kinsman for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center for 15 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $1,050. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by member Bohr. Any questions or comments on this one? Just a quick question for Coordinator Del Duca. I'm assuming at the end of this process, the minutes of this meeting do go to council to be ratified. From a staffing perspective, do you inform the community groups after the FAP meeting or after the council meeting of any changes?
I will definitely be reaching out to the community groups or the applicants through you, Chair, sorry. And I'll let them know of all the decisions that were made if there was any changes through the FAP committee.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so motion is on the table for 15 business meeting rentals. All those in favor? That is carried. Item number 4 from this group, the request to approve or deny a request from the Feversham Kinsman for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Community Center for a strawberry supper event at an approximate value of $385. Looking for someone to approve or deny. Member Bohr.
I'm just doing some rough math here, and I think they're still within the $3,000 limit, so I move to approve.
Okay. Motion to approve, seconded by member Allwood. Any questions or comments regarding that? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 7.6, the Flesherton Fling Committee. Staff note that for request number 1, previously approved amounts for the Flesherton Fling are $1,000 per resolution 2021-175 and $240 per resolution 2022-692. So 7.6 Flesherton Fling Committee request is approve or deny a request from the Flesherton Fling Committee for a cash contribution of $91.90 to cover the costs associated with the rental of the large event tent for the Flesherton Fling. And my assumption is that this is the difference in inflation for the cost of the tent from last year to this year. Coordinator Del Duca?
That's correct. Through you, Chair, that's correct.
Okay. So they're looking to, well, we've continued to cover the full cost, but this time it's just going to cost us an extra $91. Do I have a mover or seconder for this one? Member Bohr.
Move to approve, please.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Member Allwood?
I'll second that. Again, this would have been those previous amounts would have been significant community event funding that was approved. So
Yes.
we're just adjusting that with this.
Yeah,
Sorry.
through you, Coordinator Del Duca, would this effect become permanent into the significant community events request?
No, this would through you, Chair. No, this is just a request for this year. If you wanted to make this a recurring a payment, it would have to be designated as significant community undertaking as well.
Just for clarity, the event itself has received funds as an event, but the funds weren't earmarked for a specific item. And so that's the differentiation here.
Yes, the previous events were designated in 2022 2021 and 2022. They were deemed significant community undertakings. So this is just a request, sorry, 2021 as well. This is just a request over and above that amount. So yes, the council would have to, or the FAP committee and council would have to designate this as a year after year funding if they want to continue without having to go to through the grant program.
Okay. Clear as mud, everybody?
Clear as mud. I would motion that we add that ongoing increase into their annual grant.
I think so to Deputy Clerk Thompson, is the cleanest way to do that as an amendment, recommendation to council that the large event tent for the Flusherton Fling be part of the significant community event. And therefore, if it's the tent itself is the contribution, then therefore if the tent goes up, it's getting covered. It is a hard one because this affects a inflationary object on the budget.
Thank you, Chair Nielsen. Through you, I'm actually not able to provide information on significant community undertakings and the process for that. I would suggest that there's the motion on the floor already. It would probably make sense for this to come forward as a separate motion, just so that council can consider the two items separately. Coordinator Del Duca may have more knowledge on how the significant community undertakings are created by council.
Okay. Coordinator Del Duca, just looking to see, like, in terms of
Yeah.
the motion or the best process for this one.
Sorry, through you, Chair. I was looking at the previous FAP committee minutes, and one of the motions on there was to direct council, or for that to council direct staff to, or sorry, no, that FAP committee asked council to consider this a recurring funding as a significant committee undertaking.
And so if that was approved through the minutes of council before, then we shouldn't have to do that again, but perhaps carrying forward, this wouldn't come through. It would just be considered as part of the significant community
Yeah.
undertakings. Just,
Yeah,
and
through
I
you, Chair.
understand,
Yeah.
just a minor little oversight for this particular group.
Mhm.
Okay, so it is being motioned to approve today. So member Bohr, perhaps we don't need the amending motion, and we will just provide clarity at the council table. When the minutes come forward, myself or Councillor Allwood can bring up this conversation in this particular item.
Thank you.
Okay, so a motion to approve is on the floor, been moved by, I believe it was member Allwood and seconded by member Bohr, or the other way around?
Way around.
Other way around? I had a
Yes.
50-50 chance and I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving along to item 7.7, Friends of the Kimberley Forest. So item number 1, request from Friends of the Kimberley Forest is that we approve or deny a request from the Friends of the Kimberley Forest for a cash contribution of $425 for a community celebration for a new parking lot and trailhead recognition at Side Road 4A and 7th Line. Can I get a mover and a seconder to approve or deny? Member Bohr. You're on mute again, sorry.
You'd think I'd have enough room on the desk for the mouse, but anyway, I move to approve, please.
Okay, motion to approve this request. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by member Allwood. Any questions or comments on this particular request? So this is a straight cash request. And if we look back at 6.5, it does show the amount. This is part of that cash requested 7,267. Correct, Coordinator Del Duca?
Through you, Chair. Yes, that's correct.
See, I understand the agenda. Okay, so any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.7, number 2, approve or deny a request from the Friends of the Kimberley Forest for the waiver of venue rental fees for Kimberley Hall for 12 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $840. Member Allwood.
I'll move to approve.
Approved by Member Allwood, seconded by Member Bohr. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? This is carried. 7.8, Friends of the Rockland Arena. Staff note for request number 4, insurance coverage is provided through the municipal funding, through the municipal funding. Funding is capped at $2,500 with a 50-50 cost sharing model. And for request number 5, picnic tables located at the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center grounds will be available for use at the event. However, the municipality does not have 25 picnic tables that can be moved to fulfill this request. So, moving on to request number 1 from 7.8, Friends of the Rockland Arena, that we approve or deny request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena for the provision of 10 portable toilets for Father's Day Classic Car Antique Tractor Show at an approximate municipal cash expenditure of $1,600. Looking for a mover to approve or deny. Member Bohr?
Move to approve.
Moves to approve. Do I have a seconder? Member Allwood seconding. Any questions or comments on this one? Just a question from myself, Coordinator Del Duca. Is this the same number of portable toilets in the past? Has it always been a request for 10? In my head, I'm picturing less porta potties there in years past. I'm just wondering if that's the case. I don't know if you have records on that one.
Sorry about that, Chair. Excuse me. They requested last year was 8 portable toilets. And 2 accessible and 2 freestanding hand wash stations. So the request has grown.
The request has grown. I know it was pretty well attended last year, so that might be the reason why. Okay.
That's right.
Thank you for that information, Coordinator Del Duca. Any other questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Request number 2, approve or deny a request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena for the provision of 4 accessible portable toilets for the Father's Day Classic Car and Antique Tractor Show at an approximate municipal cash expenditure of $880. Can I get a mover or a seconder? So just from Coordinator Tom Del Duca, we did hear that they requested 2 last year, and it was 8 portable toilets last year. So they're looking to increase all of these methods. Member Bohr.
I move to approve. Kudos to the Friends of the Rockland Arena for the attendance at their event, and to have proper facilities encourages people to return each year. If there's a shortage of facilities or if they're not properly maintained, they deter people from returning the following year. So I'd like to move to approve this.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Allwood, seconding.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And item number 3 from the Friends of the Rockland Arena. So approve or deny request from the Friends for the provision of 4 portable hand washing stations for the Father's Day Classic Car and Tractor Show at an approximate municipal value of $500. So this would put them, to do all 3 of these requests does put us over $2,500. So Coordinator Del Duca, the note here you're talking about is just the insurance provision. Is there a provision that we have within the FAP for limits to cash provisions for one-day events?
For your chair. Well, it's a good question. The funding cap limit is for cash requests of $2,500. This would be a municipal expenditure. So I suppose
So
I suppose not.
the classic car show is considered a significant community undertaking,
That's correct.
this particular one. And for, yeah, I'm just trying to understand this one. Remember Allwood?
Sorry, some more clarity on that. So when we talk about the first two items, were they also municipal expenditures or were they considered under class? So that was, if we go back to 6.5, the total, sorry, got too many mice in front of me here. So the 2980 that is requested municipal cash, these numbers are included in that amount, Coordinator Del Duca?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Allwood. Yes, Member Allwood. Yes, they are.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this one, which is 7.8, number 3, the hand wash stations? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 4, approve or deny a request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena for a cash contribution of $3,500 to cover insurance and live entertainment for the Father's Day Classic Car and Antique Tractor Show. Coordinator Del Duca, this one, the note does speak to this one, which is being a 50-50 cost sharing model. Do we know if their intent is to spend the same amount or more themselves?
Well, through you, Chair, the note there is mostly for the insurance. They don't require insurance because they are covered under the municipality as a registered group, as a committee group.
Right.
However, yes, they would be required to put in 50% of the cash costs if they were to go forward through this, and that would be certainly be something that they know about and would be reminded about.
Right.
If this were to be approved.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion. You can amend it or approve it or deny.
Just a question is,
Sure. Member Moore?
Coordinator Del Duca's comment, does that say they are covered already under municipal insurance?
For you, Chair, Member Bork, that's correct.
So they don't need this.
Correct. They don't
Well,
need the insurance portion of it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Trying
the,
to. Sorry, go ahead, Member Elwood.
thank you, Chair Nielsen, through you. So yeah, I mean, the request is for insurance and live entertainment costs, right? So maybe we should split the question and I'm not sure how much of the $3,500 is live entertainment. That's a lot of money for live entertainment.
This is the conundrum on this one. I think if I'm looking at the details of their requests, and it does show the car show and it's showing the $3,500 for advertising, for insurance and advertising. I'm not sure how we could handle this one. Coordinator Del Duca?
Yeah, excuse me, Chair. It does look like $3,500 was including the municipal expenditure of the porta potties as well. So I don't imagine, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the group, but I mean, I could probably reach out and get more clarification, but it looks like that 3,500 would be including everything listed in the application. So porta potties, accessible hand washing stations, etc.
Yeah. So Coordinator Del Duca, with the system that we have here for the FAP, this is the one meeting we're going to have to deal with all these ones. If this group pulled out number 4 here and deferred it to council, could we, this also be a clerk question for our deputy clerk. If this committee defers item number 4 to council with the request that more information come from staff regarding this request, so that this committee just chooses not to vote on this one because we're a little confused about what the actual cost is. If there's a motion to refer to the council table with a staff report for clarity, would that give clear direction for staff and for council? So the question there, though, is in the domino effect of how the meetings work, the minutes go there, council receives and accepts the minutes, then they would accept that referral, then it comes back to the council table at a later meeting, correct? I'm just doing my procedural policies here in my head.
Thank you through you, Chair Nielsen. Yes, so the committee would be referring this item to council and recommending that council direct staff to report back on the request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena with more information for council's consideration, and ultimately that council make the decision. That is at the will of the committee. That is certainly an option.
Okay. Just to committee members, just trying to figure out, we don't want to necessarily deny the entirety of the request if this is including the live entertainment, but the value is questionable given some of the other things that are covered municipally. So what do you want to do with this one? Member Allwood or Member Boer? Member Boer.
I'd like to be assured that our approval of the item number 1, number 2, and number 3 for the 10 portable washrooms, the 4 accessible washrooms, and the 4 hand washing stations. I'd like to be assured that those approvals are in place as part of this FAP program. And then the referral is just for the question of the difference between the two.
Yeah, I think item number 1, 2, and 3 have been approved through the FAP, so that'll be carried forward as part of the motion from here to council anyways. So they, as far as this committee is concerned, we've approved them. Council can change its mind if it wants to, but we're recommending approval to the council. And that wouldn't change. This one is, like, the request is specifically looking at the insurance costs and entertainment, but whereas within their written request is where it's a little bit confusing as to what the 35 is actually supposed to cover. But the request for number 4 is specifically for insurance and live entertainment. We know that insurance is covered through their arrangement with the municipality already. So really the question then has become, how much money are you actually requesting specifically for live entertainment? And if staff can have that answer come back, then we're saying, because we don't have the information, we can't answer that, but council could, once it has the information.
Chair Allen, I guess, Chair Nielsen, rather, we have the option of splitting the question, denying the insurance as it's not required, and then just asking, referring the cost of live entertainment to come back for council because we don't have the information required. Maybe that's the way to do this.
You could do that as well. Okay. Just add more motions on the floor. Deputy Clerk Thompson.
Through you, there is through the chair, there actually is no motion on the floor right now, so there's no motion to split. Certainly the committee could move 2 separate motions. That's certainly an option, but just for clarity, the motion is also not worded in such a way that it could be split. It doesn't have separate clauses, but we don't have anything on the floor, so we're at the will of the committee.
Yeah. So to Member Allwood, if you wanted, you could move a motion that says that we deny the coverage for the insurance, but approve entertainment for an upset limit, or refer up entertainment to council. Yeah, there's a few options here. It's a little bit confusing, this one.
Thank you, Chair Nielsen. I mean, I would be hesitant to have an upside limit to the entertainment costs. I have no idea what that should be. So if I were to make a motion at this point, it would be to deny the request for insurance as it's not required. They're covered under the municipal insurance, and refer the request for cash funding for the live entertainment to council once we have more information. Does that make sense?
I understand the motion. Just going to look at the Deputy Clerk Thompson. just to see if you captured that clearly. Yes. Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Bohr, are you willing to second that? Okay. So the motion to deny the request for insurance and refer the request for live entertainment to council pending more staff information. Any questions regarding that? Seeing none, all those in favor? And good work working our way through that one, team. Number 5, approve or deny a request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena for the provision and return of transportation of 25 picnic tables to the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center for the Father's Day Classic Car and Antique Tractor Show. Now, Coordinator Del Duca, do you have a list? Like, do you know how many picnic tables we do own that are in good working order for this request?
Through you, Chair. No, I don't have a number off the top of my head for the amount of picnic tables the municipality owns, but it was decided last year operationally that we don't transport them from one area to another, just based on due to the staff costs, time, equipment we needed to do that. That was one of the things that staff requested, that we no longer transport them.
Right. And I know some community groups have already had to rent tables for their various events because of that. Member Allwood.
Thank you, Chair Nielsen, through you. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Coordinator Del Duca. The response to other requests for moving tables around has been denied. We no longer do that. So I would move that this number, sorry,
Number
5 be
5.
denied.
Okay. Member Allwood moves to deny request number 5 from the Friends of the Rockland Arena. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Member Bohr. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 6. Approve or deny a request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center Large Hall for 12 business meeting rentals, an approximate value of $840. Looking for a motion to approve or deny. Member Moore.
Move to approve, please.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Allwood. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call that question. All those in favor? That is carried. Item number 7. Approve or deny request from the Friends of the Rockland Arena for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center Large Hall for 12 business meeting rentals, an approximate value of $840. Is this a duplicate request, or is this is for the car show? Sorry, that it's not duplicated. It is duplicated in the numbers, but it's just a different subcommittee of the group. Do I have a mover and seconder? Motion to approve or deny. Member Bohr?
Move to approve, please.
Motion to approve. Member Allwood, you're good to second that one. Okay. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.9. Grey Bruce Native Seed Bank. Number 1, approve or deny a request from the Grey Bruce Native Seed Bank for $2,500 cash contribution to offset costs associated with the promotion and delivery of educational programs and seed stratification. Looking for a motion to approve or deny, or any questions for clarity. Member Bohr?
I'm going to move to approve because I think it's a worthwhile initiative, and I'm not sure how much other support they get locally. I think they're just kind of starting out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move to approve.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Member Allwood, you'll second? Okay. Any questions or comments? I believe this is the first time we've received a request from this group, Coordinator Del Duca. And it's not an event per se, but it's an actual program. Our FAP does support starting up of new events or things. So this would be
Within
I
our
think it's, yeah, within our mandate. My question is, if they were to come back, does it then change? Because the mandate's just for first year costs. I think, is that how the mandate's worded?
Yeah, through you, Chair. It would be basically if they would have to expand, let's say, their offerings and programming if they were going to request again.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. I was just making sure I understood everything. The motion has been moved to approve. No further questions? All those in favor? That is carried. 7.10, Grey County Farm Safety Association. That we approve or deny a request from the Grey County Farm Safety Association for a $500 cash contribution to help offset costs associated with the delivery and the promotion and delivery of farm safety programming throughout Grey County. So I believe
I'll
this
move to-
helps. Oh,
Move
go
to
ahead.
approve.
Member Allwood's motion to approve. Do I have a seconder? Member Bohr, any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, 7.11, Kimberley Community Association. Staff note for this item, application for waiver of venue rental fees totals approximately $11,000, to which there is a $3,000 limit under the community grant program guidelines. For 2025 to date, KCA hall rental waivers have totaled approximately $2,600, meaning there would be $400 of additional rentals approved to stay within the guidelines. I did have a conversation with the chair of the KCA today, just talking about what their plans are. And it does seem like they might be looking to come to council to have a different discussion, as they've been informed that their requests significantly go outside the FAP committee abilities. So question for you, Coordinator Del Duca. Because we are 5 months into the year, if we were to deny a particular portion, say for instance, you deny number one, which is the Bridge Club, but they've already had a number of Bridge Club meetings. How do we treat this one to stay within those guidelines? Because the requests have already contributed. So if we say no to the Bridge Club, though, then they have to pay for the retroactive ones, but that gives them grace moving forward for the other ones. What is a staff suggestion on how to approach this?
Through you, Chair. You mentioned an MOU, or they were talking about it. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
that would alleviate a lot of their problems if they were to come to an agreement with the municipality.
Yeah.
The only thing I suggest is if they scale back their bookings, they could probably go down to one booking a week. A lot of their events are significant community undertakings as well. So I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a number of them that are, so they could still happen. But my suggestion would be that they would have to scale back programming and pay for the venue rentals.
Moving forward from now.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, to the committee members, in my conversation with the chair today, they're suggesting about coming forward and having to try to have an MOU conversation with the municipality, but that's a process in and of itself. I within the request here, they'll have the 1-day events for various significant community events. They have their Canada Days thing, they have their Easter event, they have a few different significant ones that have been classified. So those hall rentals, I guess, kind of land outside of the total request. But even without those ones, we're still sitting at well over 100 hall rentals. Coordinator
Chair
Del Duca?
Nielsen, if I may.
Sure.
I mean, the significant community events, undertakings rather, fall outside of this FAP committee. So the $11,000 in requests here over and above that, they're already year to date at the $2,600. I mean, we we need to have or the municipality needs to have a discussion with the KCA and work out a different arrangement. I mean, the scope of this programming falls beyond the criteria and approved limits for this community grant program. So I'm not sure that we can make decisions. I think all of 7.11 needs to be referred to council for a different discussion.
That you can, yep, that could be a motion today, Councillor Alwood, or sorry, Member Alwood. We can make that
I'll just-
motion.
Maybe if I could get some advice from our coordinator and just comments from other committee members
Yeah.
before we make a motion. But you know, I don't see how we can cherry pick these 13 requests and come up with $400, which is all that's left in the funding envelope within this program.
So Coordinator Del Duca, questions there from Member Alwood.
Through you, Chair. Yes, it is a very huge ask through the grant program. I do, you know, and I will comment, and I will apologize that these applications, or this committee didn't meet sooner. There was a lot of transition late last year, and so I just wasn't able to properly and accurately bring this information forward before council before the new year. That's something we're looking at this year, coming to council and asking for an earlier deadline. However, yes, this is a huge ask. I don't see any way around this without either denying rentals or making the KCA or recommending that the KCA pay for them if they want them for now.
A question for you, Coordinator Del Duca.
Yeah.
Some of these requests are repetitive in nature. They've been part of the FAP. Some of them I don't remember. So I'm just wondering, for like the yoga and Pilates programming, I don't think, and I could be wrong, but because my memory is not set in stone, but I don't believe we had a request for venue rentals specifically for yoga and Pilates before. And so a question I have then is, from what I understand, this is already happening and they've already had events. So how did that work between the KCA and the municipality? Like, you know what? That's a question for council to have, not for this committee to have with you, Coordinator Del Duca. I will save that question. Member Alwood?
Sure. I mean, I don't think this committee can make recommendations that exceed the programming limits. And I'm not sure that we should even make a decision that the only way they can proceed with this sort of request is to pay for it themselves. I think that's a decision that has to be referred to council. So, I mean, my inclination is to refer all of 7-11 to a council meeting. Perhaps even ask for a staff report on you know, what alternatives there are. This came up during the amendments that were made to the program, where we capped it at 3,000. And you know, I think I mentioned at that meeting that the KCA has this, you know, these type of requests. How are we going to deal with it? Or, you know, just deny it? Or I don't think that's appropriate either at this point, but certainly that's the only choice we have. We can't exceed $3,000 without council's approval. I'd be reluctant to start denying these. It needs to be referred back to council, and I'm not sure how they're, you know, I mean, it looks like they're proceeding as though status quo was in place and they're going ahead with this programming and using the hall, but without this committee's approval and beyond the scope of the program. So something needs to be addressed. I mean, I would think, Rob, maybe you can comment on this later, but that we shouldn't even be receiving applications that exceed the criteria of the programming. I mean, you know, it might be that the total number of applications, but no one application should exceed from one group should exceed that $3,000 free rentals. You know, we may have other issues in the totality of it all, but certainly this one, you know, we can't approve this, and I'd be reluctant to deny it at this point without some discussion at the council table.
Cornell Del Duca?
Through your chair to Member Allwood. You're right. The new funding, or sorry, the new cap on venue rentals was clear in the application, that in the information that I put out to these groups. I would say most of them held within that limit, but this one here, they just got so many that they didn't know where to start. They didn't know where to start and cut, and so we just went ahead accepting applications, assuming it was status quo until the FAP committee met. But now here we are at the crossroads because they've reached their limit and we're almost halfway through the year.
Yeah. Member Allwood, you have a motion that you want to move? Do you want to move that and see where that goes?
Yeah,
And
I think it would be appropriate for us to refer all of 7.11 to a future council meeting with some recommendations from staff on how we can move forward with this sort of request.
okay, do I have a seconder for that? Member Bohr? A question for Coordinator Del Duca. The hard part to this is, in my understanding, this is about to put staff in a pinch because the policy states they have $3,000 when that funding runs out, their booking should run out. Regardless of this. So moving forward, these committee minutes they won't make it to the May 21st council meeting. They won't be coming until the first meeting in June, which puts a bit of pressure on staff because from my math, they'll likely be out of their money by then. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah.
Through you, Chair, if I may.
Yep. Go ahead, Coordinator Del Duca.
I'll certainly communicate this to them, and immediately, and perhaps they can scale down for the next few weeks to allow time for this to come to council.
Right. Yeah, that might be the best to communicate just the challenge of what we're trying to do. But the motion is on the floor to refer 7.11, the Kimberley Community Association's requests to the council table for decision. Any further questions or comments on that? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.12, Markdale Recreation Committee. 7.12, number 1, approve or deny a request from the Markdale Recreation Committee for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Centre Grey Recreation Complex Large Hall for 12 business meetings at an approximate value of $840. Member Allwood?
Move to approve.
Move to approve, seconded by Member Bohr. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 2, approve or deny a request from the Markdale Recreation Committee for a cash contribution of $500 for a youth collaboration event in collaboration with the library. Looking for a motion to approve or deny. More questions. Member Allwood.
I'll move to approve.
Move to approve. Seconded by Member Bohr. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.13, Osprey Recreation Committee. That we approve or deny a request from the Osprey Recreation Committee for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Osprey Hall meeting room for 12 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $840.
Move to approve.
Member Allwood motion to approve. Member Boer seconding. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.14, Pickleball Club of Grey Highlands. Approve or deny a request from the Pickleball Club of Grey Highlands for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Flesherton Arena, an approximate value of $900. 5 days with a 3-hour rentals. Motion to approve, deny, or any questions? Member Boer?
Motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Member
Okay.
Allwood. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.15, Priceville Improvement Committee. To approve or deny a request from the Priceville Improvement Committee for a cash contribution of $400 to help offset costs associated with the purchase of flowers for the cenotaph and at community signs. Looking for a motion to approve, deny, or any questions? Member Boer?
I move to approve.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? I'll second this one.
Okay.
Seconded by Member Nielsen. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Request number 2 from the Priceville Improvement Committee is to approve or deny a request from the Priceville Improvement Committee for the waiver of venue rental fees at Stothard Hall for 4 rentals, fundraisers as an approximate value of $1,140. Motion to approve or deny, or any questions?
Move to approve.
Member Allwood looking to approve. Do I have a seconder? Member Boer, any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.16, we're almost there, people. Rockland 4-H Life Skills. Number 1, approve or deny a request from the Rockland 4-H Life Skills for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center for 16 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $1,260. Member Boer,
Move to approve.
motion to approve. Do I have a seconder? Member Allwood, any questions or comments on this one? Coordinator Del Duca.
Through you, Chair. I apologize. It appears I made a mathematical error in 7.16, item 1. The total is the approximate value would be $1,120, not $1,260.
Yes, so it is, because it
Sorry
shows
about
2
that.
different numbers there.
My apologies.
That's quite all right. We're having fun. So their cost is $1,120. We like this number better because it's a smaller one. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.17, Rockland Agricultural Society. Staff note for request number 3. This item is an unmaintained ball field. To fulfill this request would involve significant maintenance leading up to the event, which is not currently supported within the available staff resources or the budget. Coordinator Del Duca.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I'm really getting my screen time today. So when we say it is an unmaintained ball field, we still do make sure it's safe ahead of the tournament. We'll furrow the field if we have to, if that's the correct term, and just to make sure it is safe.
Right. Yeah, it's level. There's no dangerous objects or anything like that. It's just not a proper ball field for the purposes of recreational sports.
Correct.
It's a great place
Good.
to park cars for the Father Day. Member Allwood.
Point of clarity there. So the request would actually be item number 1, wouldn't it? Not number 3. Approve, deny is that what we're,
You are correct, because the first
Yeah.
request is the ball field one. Yes.
right?
Item number 1, approve or deny request from the Agricultural Society for ball field repairs and maintenance to make it suitable for tournament play in July. Member Boer.
Move to
Again, that was
deny,
me.
as
Yeah.
per the note from the municipality.
Okay, thank you for that, Member Boer. So item number 1, the ball field is moved to deny by Member Boer. Do I have a seconder for that? I can second that one.
Okay.
Seconded by Member Nielsen. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. So that one's denied. Number 2, approve or deny a request from the Rockland Agricultural Society for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center for 10 business meeting rentals at an approximate value of $700.
Move to approve.
Member Allwood looking to approve, seconded by Member Boer. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 3, approve or deny a request from the Rockland Agricultural Society for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center for 5 fundraisers at an approximate value of $1,925. Motion to approve, deny, or questions? Member Boer.
Motion to approve. My math shows they're still under the $3,000 limit.
Yep, specifically for the Rockland Agricultural Society. Do I have a seconder for that one? Member
I'll
Allwood?
second
Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.18, Rockland Country Theatre. Number 1, approve or deny request from the Rockland Country Theatre for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center, Large Hall, for 10 rehearsals from March 10th to March 20th at an approximate value of $700. Yes, your math is correct. We are in May. Can I get a motion to approve or deny? Member Boer.
Motion to approve.
Sounds good. Do I have a seconder for that? Member Allwood. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Number 2, approve or deny request from the Rockland Country Theatre for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center, Large Hall, for a 4-day play run at an approximate cost of $1,840. Looking for a motion to approve, deny, or questions. Member Allwood.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by Member Boer. I saw your hand up. Is that okay? Yep. Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.19. Uh, 7.19. Royal Canadian Legion Branch 333. Request number 1, approve or deny request from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 333 for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Flesherton Complex, Large Hall, for an annual mass dinner at an approximate value of $285. Can I get a motion to approve? Deny? Member Allwood?
Move to approve.
Seconded.
Second by Member Boer. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 2, approve or deny a request from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 333 for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Flesherton Complex, Large Hall, for a Remembrance Day lunch at an approximate value of $225.
Move to
Member
approve.
Move to approve, Member Allwood. Second by Member Boer. Just a question on this one for Coordinator Del Duca. Is it appropriate for us as a committee to recommend ones that should be deemed a significant community event? I know this request has come in a few times the last couple of years. Now it's nice to see this request nice and early because in the last couple of years it's been some time sensitive hopping onto a council agenda thing. But our the Friends of the Museum host theirs as a significant community event. Pricefield does the Remembrance Day thing as a significant community event. I believe even the Feversham is considered a significant community event. So we can motion to approve this today, but can we also amend that to suggest that council deem this one a significant community event moving forward?
Through you, Chair. Yes, that's a great idea. I was actually going to suggest it. I was going to pop up before you voted on this one, but yes, I think that's a great idea. This does happen every year, and the Legion is a great supporter of community and veterans and active members. So great idea.
So it is motion to approve right now, but member Bohr, member Ahwa, do either of you support that idea? Would you like to make an amendment to this one? Member Bohr?
I agree with your amendment that this event should recur on an annual basis. So I'd like to have the addendum added that the council consider this a community or significant community undertaking, I think it's called,
Yes.
as well as approving for this year.
Yeah. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Member
I'll
Allwood?
second the amendment. And again, we're referring to the Remembrance Day event.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, it's Remembrance Day lunch.
Yeah.
So that's the amendment has been moved and seconded. Deputy Clerk Thompson, I'm sure you've captured that clearly. Yep, got a head nod. Okay. Any questions or comments on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the amendment? That is carried. On to the main motion as amended, which is to approve plus recommend that council consider this one to be a significant community undertaking. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.20, Temple Hill United Church. Number 1, approve or deny a request from the Temple Hill United Church for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center, arena floor and kitchen for a community fundraising dinner at an approximate value of $640. Looking for a motion to approve, deny, or questions. Member Bohr.
Move to approve, please.
Motion to approve. Do I have a seconder for that one? Seconded by member Allwood. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Yep. Number 2, approve or deny a request from the Temple Hill United Church for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Euphrasia Memorial Community Center, large hall and kitchen for 2 fundraising events at an approximate value of $700.
Chair Nielsen,
Member
just
Allwood?
point clarity, this is not the same community dinner. This is a different, like the Elvis event, obviously, but or is
Yes.
this just the Elvis event with a community dinner? I'm not sure how that's.
Coordinator Del Duca?
Yes, through you, Chair. Member Allwood. 2 events. They're the Elvis night, and then they want to do another night for a community dinner. So there's 2 venue rentals in 2 different days.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for clarity?
I'll move,
Lost. Yes,
move to
I didn't think it was.
approve item number 2, the Elvis community dinner event.
Okay. Seconded by member Bohr, who doesn't like a good Elvis concert.
Almost
Any
done.
other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 7.21, Victorian Order of Nurses Grey Bruce. Approve or deny a request from the Victorian Order of Nurses Grey Bruce for the waiver of venue rental fees for the Markdale Hall for 75 one-hour bookings for VON Smart Exercise and Falls Prevention Program at an approximate value of $3,000. Here's a group who heard the number and said, we can do that. Coordinator Del Duca? You're on mute, Coordinator Del Duca.
Thank you, Chair Nielsen, through you to the committee. I did want to make a note here that their original request was over $3,000. But they realized the importance of the programming, so they made it work, and they will be paying the remainder of the balance.
Fantastic. So do I have a motion to approve, deny, or any other further questions? Member Bohr,
Motion to approve.
I have a seconder for that one.
I'll
Member
second that.
Allwood? Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. So that's the end of these. Deputy Clerk Thompson, for this committee, the next intake, do we know when the next intake is scheduled for? Maybe that's not a question for Deputy Clerk. That's a question for Coordinator Del Duca.
Through you, Chair Nielsen, to the committee. We had for the 2025 year, we had set the deadline as March 31st to allow time for the budget to be passed. However, noticing delays with this one, I won't make any suggestions, but noticing there was a delay in getting to the committee this year because of the late deadline, we noticed was problematic for so many bookings that had already taken place that were requested.
So this is the question that I was trying to think of for Deputy Clerk Thompson. Is it better for this committee to make a recommendation to council regarding the intake day and timing of this committee? Or is it something that would be more when these minutes hit the council table that it gets brought up at that point?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Nielsen, council sets the guidelines for the committee. So that would actually be my suggestion, that when this item comes to council, a member could bring it up at that time. I don't believe that it would be appropriate for the committee to make a recommendation to council because the guidelines for the program itself are set by council. So it's a decision that can be made at council.
Okay. Now, Member Allwood, I saw your hand up.
Sorry, thank you, Chair Nelson. Through you, in the interest of clarity, I mean, within the guidelines now, there's one annual intake, January the 1st to the March 31st, right? So
yeah,
it's
clear in the committee. So yeah, this would be more of something to go with at the council table that yourself or myself can bring up. But just because it does make it a little bit of a challenge when we're approving items that have already taken place. Okay, there's no further items on today's agenda, and I technically just added other comments even though it's not there. Number 8 is next meeting isn't set yet. It'll be determined upon the intake and our next need to come to approve items. So then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Member Bohr, motion to adjourn. Member Allwood is seconding. And we're motioning to adjourn at 2:28 p.m. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, committee members, for coming together. We had a couple of interesting requests, and we'll see what council does with 2 of those items. Have a fantastic afternoon, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
you.